Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to Necromunda Hired Guns, your ultimate guide to the gritty Underhive of Games Workshop's Necromunda. In this series, we dive deep into the fascinating world of hanger-ons, brutes, and hired guns, so whether you're a seasoned gang leader or just stepping into the dark quarters of Hive Primus for the very first time, our in-depth analysis will help you to master these valuable allies and assets. And on today's video, we're going to take a look at the hired guns available to all Palanite Enforcer gangs that come in the form of the Palanite Enforcer Haunt as well as the Sanctioner Automata. We'll be discussing their characteristics as well as their weapons and war gear. We'll talk about their special rules as well and provide our overall thoughts and conclusion on each of these valuable hired guns that you can use in your gangs and in your campaigns of Necromunda. Now, because this video is a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps in the description box down below so that we can click and navigate to the part of the video that interests you the most. So that being said, let's go and talk about the hired guns that Palanite Enforcer gangs can employ in your campaigns. Haunts are the most stable of Lord Helmwar's psykers, chosen for their control over their power, mental fortitude, and most importantly, their loyalty to the Imperial House. Undergoing even harsher indoctrination and hypnotic programming than other enforcers, Haunts are rendered completely incapable of disobeying the orders that are given by their handlers. While they may not be liked by their comrades, they are an important arm of the Palanites, countering psychic and empiric threats to the Hive City, or using their talents to destroy cults and criminals that might be too powerful for conventional means of enforcement alone. When not within the hexchromatic wards of their precinct fortress chambers, each Haunt is locked into a suit of psychoreactive armor key to their particular powers. These suits are designed to control and focus their abilities, glowing with empiric dampeners when their powers are building, and flaring with light as they are released. The most common Haunts are telepaths, known as Psyrenders, and telekinetics, known as Bone Crushers. Psyrenders peel back the psyche of their targets, pulling out their secrets and dismantling their sanity, while Bone Crushers are less subtle, crumpling the barricades protecting outlaw strongholds with telekinetic force, or as their name implies, sharing the bodies of their foes. So up first, let's talk about the Palanite Enforcer Haunt. These are hanger-ons that you can recruit for your gang. You can get up to a max with 2 of these guys, and they cost 85 credits apiece. Now for the characteristics, they have a 5-inch wound allowance as well as a 5+ weapon skill and ballistic skill. They have 3 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 6 leadership, 6 cool, 5 willpower as well as 7 intelligence. Now for the most part when it comes to characteristics, they're pretty much on par with Palanite Enforcer Rookie Patrolman, but they have excellent mental characteristics, especially their willpower characteristic. With a 5+, you'll be able to trigger your weird powers 83.3% of the time, which is excellent for your psychers because that's the whole reason why you guys are taking these characters. The rest of their stats are pretty average for the most part. 5+ weapon skill, ballistic skill, I mean, that's kind of a brutal characteristic there, but you're really taking these guys not so much for their combat ability, but rather for their psychic ability as well. Now these characters do have the fearsome skill, which means that if anybody wants to charge against them in close combat, your opponents will need to pass a willpower test in order to charge against you, so that part is quite nice. However though, there is a solution to the fearsome skill of course, and that's always instead of engaging your enemy in close combat, just shoot them from a distance instead, which could be a bit of a problem. Now when it comes to the war gear, they are equipped with hardened flak armor, and hardened flak armor of course gives you 6+ armor save, which is not so great, and they also give you 5+ armor save against blast and template attacks, which is quite nice because those are very common in the Underhive as well. And at the same time, you can also subtract the armor piercing value of enemy attacks by 1 to a minimum of 1, so that part is quite nice. Now while the 6 armor save is not that good, the 5+ save against blast and templates is kind of nice, and the ability to take away the armor penetration of an attack is also quite nice as well. The only problem though is that the war gear that they're given, which is the hardened flak armor, isn't so great because this character is a hanger-on, and that's one of the problems about the armor these guys have when it comes to fighting against other enemies. Now before we talk about that real quick, let's talk about the special rules for the Palanite Enforcer Haunt. You do have the part of the crew special rule. They also have Sanctioned Psyker as well as hexchromatic dampeners, which is quite good as well. For the Psyrender, of course, they do have the telepathy weird powers from the Book of the Outcast. That's pretty much what they basically have. They have Fearful Aura, which is kind of weird because they already have Fearsome already, and Fearful Aura gives them another version of Fearsome, so I guess it kind of gives you double protection against being charged against, but you can still be shot at, so that's the problem you got to face there. At the same time, you also have the abilities Mind Control, which is quite good, Terrifying, which is quite good as well, and same with Hallucinations. I mean, those are really good, powerful, weird power abilities to have. Now, for your Bone Crusher course, they basically have the telekinesis weird powers from the Book of the Outcast as well. They have Fist of Fury, which gives you +1 strength as well as +1 damage to your unarmed attacks, which is quite nice for the Palanite Enforcer Haunt, especially if you get engaged in close combat. Unfortunately, you are striking at 5+ weapon skill, which is not so great, but if you do manage to hit your opponent, you're striking at strength 4 with 2 damage, which is, pretty good all things considered. You also get Crush, which is a really powerful ability as well as Force Shield, which gives you +1 armor save to people within 3 inches of you, which is also quite nice as well as Force Blast, which is a great area effect weapon attack that you use to push people away from you. Now, here's where the problem comes in. You do have the part of the crew special rule attached to these guys, which is great, so that way you can make sure that you get your Haunt onto the battlefield. But the problem, though, is a bit of a double-edged sword, and the reason why is because as a hanger-on, if you suffer an injury of any sort, an lasting injury of any sort, they're immediately eliminated from your roster, which means that you lose 85 credits for the guys you just have, which is kind of rough, right? So that's a bit of a problem there. Now, they do have Sanctioned Psyker, which is quite nice, which means that once per battle, they can reroll the failed willpower test, which could be vitally important depending on your situation. They also got the Hexachromatic Dampeners, which is quite nice because it means that if you do suffer a perils of the warp ability, you just automatically go out cold, which is nice. But it's that idea that as a hanger-on, if you take a lasting injury, you're eliminated from the roster. That is a huge problem for Palanite Enforcer Haunts. So you might not take these characters just because you don't want to lose 85 credits like that. I mean, just one really bad roll for you and you could lose 85 credits right off the bat, which could be quite rough. In my opinion, if you really want to fix this, the way I would recommend doing this is by actually kind of house ruling these guys. And the way you could basically house rule these guys potentially is just to make them prospects. I'm not sure why they didn't make these guys prospects to begin with. I'm not sure why they made them hanger-ons. So you could actually do this because you do have the Psygeist, which is basically the same kind of thing what a Haunt does for your Delag gangs, right? So you make them a prospect instead. And what you do is you give them the hot-headed as well as the fast learner skills, special rules attached to them, just like any other prospect as well. And to make things more balanced for most people, you only start off with 1 psychic power from your discipline. So you could choose telepathy or you could choose telekinesis, but you only get 1 power to start with. And if you want the other powers, of course, you have to level up and gain experience in order to get those. I think that's actually a pretty fair trade-off for a fighter that costs 85 credits because you only have a minimum. You can only have a max of 2 of these guys in your gang as well. At the same time, you also get them better weapons and war gear for these guys as well. When it comes to their skills, because you want to kind of put them in the same level as Palanite Rookie Patrolman, you can give them agility and shooting as their secondary skills and give them their weird powers as a primary skill because that's exactly what these guys actually have. So one of the cool things about these guys, they do have some really cool miniatures that's made by Forge World. So there are official Forge World miniatures, which could be a bit of a pain if you're playing in a campaign where they want you to use official stuff like WYSIWYG or something like that. I mean, they can be kind of expensive for some people, so that's the reason why it could be a pain in order to do that. But I think they look pretty cool too, so that part is quite nice. As to whether you should include them in your gang, I think they could be potentially really good for your gang, especially since psychic abilities are starting to become more of a thing on the tabletop now. So having ability to fight against that and to counter with your own psyker is quite nice. The only drawback for this is, once again, they're Forge World exclusives, and secondly, they are hanger-on. So if they take any lasting injuries of any sort, you lose them automatically. So if you want to go with my little fix that I made for my home rule fix, that's probably what I'll do with my gaming group. If one of my Palanite Enforcer players want to take these guys, but they want to make them more of a prospect, I might do that for them because it just seems like a better rules fix in my opinion. But that's just me, of course. Now, of course, what do you guys think? Would you house rule or not? Please let me know in the comments below because I'd love to hear about your guys' thoughts on that. To keep Helmor's peace, enforcers employ semi-sentient servo-automata designated Sanctioners. These hulking machines are driven by the cranial remains of a Palanite Enforcer whose personality profile matches those prescribed for Sanctioner use. The subject given extensive psycho-conditioning before their brain is removed, dissected and placed within the confines of the automata. Unlike the Ambot, which is driven by the animal instincts and nervous systems of an Ambull, the Sanctioner has a human mind controlling its actions, albeit one devoid of emotion and dedicated utterly to the letter of the law. For this reason, gangs often call these machines Automata, saying you'll find more mercy at the hands of a corpse grinder cult than under the gaze of a Sanctioner. A Sanctioner is armed and armored for the pacification task it is so often required to undertake. Heavy carapace plates protect the already robust inner workings of the Sanctioner, making them largely immune to small arms fire or the crude melee weapons often deployed in uprisings or by outlaw gangers. Some enforcer units, such as the Subjugators, up-armor their automata further to deal with more heavily armed resistance. Even discounting all their armor, Sanctioners have a reputation for being notoriously difficult to kill, the massive Cybernetica rising again and again after taking punishing amounts of weapon fire as their internal repair systems keep them going. The hulking Automata's arms incorporate weapons for both crowd control and gang warfare. One arm ending in a pacifier assault claw, known as the criminals and gangs as the Fist of Dread, for the brutal damage it can inflict. Alternatively, it can replace the fist with a concussion cannon, an ideal weapon for stunning foes before hauling them off to the local precinct fortresses. Its other arm is equipped with a sanctioned patterned man catcher to restrain any and detain all who gets in its way. A Sanctioner is able to engage targets at longer range using an integrated grenade launcher. Grenades are a favorite tool for the Enforcers because of the variety of situations they can deal with, and the Sanctioner is no different. Flash, choke, scare, and stun grenades are all useful to break up crowds or take the fight out of the criminals, while smoke grenades provide cover for advancing Enforcers. Sanctioners are usually only released from their storage chambers when they precinct fortress in the case of large-scale Hive uprisings, though occasionally patrol sergeants might find themselves using them to bring law and order to especially wild regions of the Underhive. In the wake of the Great Darkness, with loyalists divided and general unrest across all of Necromunda, more and more Sanctioners have been activated, while the number of volunteers chosen to donate their brains to bolster the robots' ranks has increased tenfold. Alright, so let's talk about the Enforcer Sanctioner Pattern Automata. These guys cost 205 credits, and you can have 2 of these guys in your gang as well. Now, for the characteristics, they have 5 Brutal Allowance, 4+ Weapon Skill, Ballistic Skill, and Strength. They have 5 Toughness, 3 Wounds, 5 Initiative, 2 Attacks, 8 Leadership, 7 Cool, 6 Willpower, as well as 9 Intelligence. Now, when it comes to their characteristics, they actually have average combat characteristics with that 4+ Weapon Skill and Ballistic Skill. They get 2 attacks, which is nice because if they charge in close combat, they'll get 3 attacks if they do that. If you have 2 close combat weapons, which they automatically come with, you can actually double that up to 4 attacks in close combat, which could be quite good for you. That toughness 5 is quite nice because it makes them very survivable, especially with those 3 wounds as well. But even though the stats may be kind of average for the most part, the real advantage of the Sanctioner, just like pretty much everything in the Enforcers list, is the weapons and equipment that it actually comes with, because it's actually quite good, and that's what really gives the advantage for this brute to have inside of your gang. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail when we cover those sections. Now, for skills, you do have the Got Your 6 skill. It automatically comes with that, which basically acts like Overwatch, but only if a friendly fire is being charged against. So if your Sanctioner hasn't been activated, has a ranged attack, and somebody charges one of your other Enforcers, you can just react and interrupt that activation by opening fire with your weapon, which could potentially cause a lot of problems for enemies, especially if you kit out your Sanctioner appropriately with a lot of good shooting attacks. Now, you do have access to the primary skill for Ferocity for your primary skill. In my opinion, the best skill for you to get is to get Nerves of Steel. Get that skill as soon as possible for your Sanctioner, because if you get hit with anything, you automatically get pinned, but if you have the Nerves of Steel skill, you just have to pass a cool test, and with a cool of 7, you'll probably pass it 50% of the time, unless, of course, you level up that skill, that characteristic, in which case you can then escape pinning. And that's going to be very important for you because this Sanctioner is going to take a lot of fire. In fact, you put one of these things on the tabletop, your enemy's going to be shooting at this with everything they have because they are potentially quite dangerous. Now, when it comes to their war gear, they do have light carapace armor, which gives them a 4+ armor save, and they automatically come with a pacifier claw, which makes them strike at strength 4 with -1 AP and 2 damage, and they also have the pulverize weapons trait, which is a decent enough close combat attack, and they also have a heavy shock baton, which makes them strike at strength 5, 2 damage with concussion, parrying shock, which is another excellent weapon. You can also cause handling checks with your enemy's vehicles with that concussion on it. It can defend itself with parry, plus shock is a nice little added bonus for automatically wounding if you roll a 6, so it's actually quite good. Now, its lone shooting attack that it has, if you don't upgrade it, of course, is the grenade launcher array. It automatically gets loaded with photon grenades. It gives you the 6 to 18 inch range, so 6-inch short range, 18-inch long range, which is really good depending on the load that you're using. I think photon flash grenades are perfect because of that 5-inch blast template. And of course, your enemies fail their initiative test, they lose their ready markers, which is really good. So I like using the idea of taking the Sanctioner, using it as like a point man in the assault. So you assault an enemy fighting position, this thing goes first. It opens up with whatever grenades you want, photon flash grenades included, and just, kind of lay down and suppress your enemy, and the rest of your Enforcers come in and just kind of mop up whatever's left over. Now, when it comes to those weapons that it can actually take, you can upgrade it with a concussion cannon, which gives you a 9-inch short range, 18-inch long range. Gives you +1 to hit in the short range. It's striking at strength 4 with -1 AP, 2 damage, and will roll 4+, and it gives you a 3-inch blast template with concussion, knockback, and seismic. In my opinion, this is actually a pretty good medium-range weapon. It's great against enemy vehicles because you do cause that concussion attack, and plus seismic kind of helps lock down areas of advance for your enemies. Not to mention, if you decide to fire this weapon using your Got Your 6 skill, you could potentially, pin a lot of guys, which is actually quite good, and that's the reason why I like this weapon so much. Another really good option you could also go with is the Sanctioner pattern Mancatcher, which is a melee weapon as well as a range attack. The melee weapon strikes at strength 4 with -1 AP, 1 damage. It also has Entangle, which is quite good, so it can't be parried against. But the real reason why I like this weapon is because it does have a range attack, and it's basically a web gun. It's striking at strength 5, it's silent, it's also got the template attack as well, so it automatically hits. It also webs your opponent, you get no armor saves, it's completely silent, it's a high strength attack. You can incapacitate your enemies, have your guys walk in, the rest of your forces walk in, and then take out your enemies with the coup de grace. It's an amazing upgrade weapon for your Sanctioner. And then the last weapon you can also upgrade with too is the SLHG pattern Assault Ram. It gives you 2 attacks. You got 2-inch versatile attack at strength 6, -1 AP, 2 damage, with knockback and polarize, which is a great close combat attack. And at the same time, it also has an attached grenade launcher with a 6-inch short range and a 24-inch long range. -1 hit with a short range because the grenades need time to arm. And it's also equipped with gas as well as frag grenades. You got toxin attacks and frag grenades as well. In my opinion, the SLHG pattern Assault Ram is the best weapon to get from the Sanctioner because you got that versatile attack. You also got that long range attack if you want to as well. If you really wanted to have enough credits, you could actually upgrade this thing with a Mancatcher or the Weber as well as a Assault Ram. That'd be really expensive. Or if you want to roll the longer range shooting, you can do a concussion cannon. You really can't go wrong with all the different options you can take for this thing. Now for special rules, it does have the automatic repair systems, which means that it automatically recovers from serious injuries in the end phase, which is potentially amazing. So if you do lose up all your flesh wounds, it can also just come back from a serious injury and not be harmed, which could be great. You also got the mobile bulwark special rule, which means that fighters within full cover within this thing, but your enemies suffer a -2 hit against it when your other enforcers are near the Sanctioner, which is a great advantage for cover. So that's another great reason to take one of these things. In my opinion, taking at least one of these things is an automatic recruit for your gang. It's a very serious and dangerous brute that can cause a lot of problems. There's a lot of extreme versatile things you can do with it. You can kit out for close combat, long range shooting, or mixed fruit, any way you want to do that. It's got lots of firepower, really good close quarters battle support as well. Not to mention the official miniature is quite ace looking as well, and you get 2 in the box set too, which is kind of nice because you recruit 2 of these things. So the Palanite Enforcer Haunt and the Sanctioner Automata are very cool miniatures with some really awesome rules as well. And of course, when it comes to hiring hired guns for your gangs, it's always a tactical choice. So in my opinion, if you're not sure what to do, just go with whatever you think is the coolest. After all, you can never go wrong with the rule of cool because you'll always have fun no matter what, because it's something that you really like doing as well. Now, while it is true that WYSIWYG can be of a pain, especially if you're playing in campaigns when they want you to use the official miniatures, it could be a bit of a pain, especially for the haunts, because there's an official forward miniature, and those could be quite expensive or hard to get depending on where you're on the planet. But if you're playing in a situation where that's not really the case, you could always 3D print, convert, kit bash, or proxy your own and still have a lot of fun on the tabletop as well. So there you guys have it. That's my overall view of the Palanite Enforcer Haunt and the Sanctioner Automata. As always, please feel like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is valuable to us as always. I am Commander Cheapskate. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out and stay classy.